Welcome to this GeoTester presentation on the lifecycle of a work request. First of all, we log into the system, we go to the work request tab, and we add a work request. Select the client and the project. You can select different types. In this case, we'll select general, enter a summary, enter a location. You can schedule it, and there's a calendar within the system, but we won't schedule this one. You can enter some additional costs, so we'll have an establishment fee, and we'll have some, say, 20 kilometers of travel. You can come back and enter that later if you choose. And that work request is being added. So now it's time to add the samples. If you're going to go out into the field and do nuclear testing, you go down to the multi-sample worksheets, and that create a one page with many of the places for many samples to be added. But we've actually already collected a grading, so let's just click add sample in the standard way. You select the material type, the number of samples you've collected, the sampling method. You can enter a whole heap of information down here which ends up on the report, but we'll just jump straight to the specification and the lot number. We'll get the system to generate sublot numbers for us, and the material type. Now we need to select the worksheets that we're going to create for these samples. So the first one we'll do is for particle size distribution, and we're going to do an RMS dry sieving, and so we'll select the test method T106, 107. You've got some parameters over here as to how the worksheet displays and how it reports. We'll stick with the standard ones for this case. Then we'll add another worksheet, and we'll select the method we want for that worksheet. And we're ready to go. So we click the Create Sample button. We only want to do an Adderberg test on sample A and C, so we deselect B, Create Samples. We're back on the work request now, and here's our list of samples A, B and C that's been created. And the worksheets, there's 2 for A, 1 for B, 2 for C. So we can print that out. If you're using direct data entry, you're probably only going to want to print the first page, which is a matrix, summary matrix of what tests need to be performed for what samples. If you're printing the worksheets out and writing on them, then you probably want to print this whole document, which in this case is 6 pages. So the second page is for sample A, the grading worksheet, and then sample A, the Adderberg worksheet. And page 4 is sample B, grading, and so on. You can print tags, so click the print tag button, and you select what methods you want to print on each of the tags. So for the first one, for example, we might want to print both of those tests. We only want one tag for the sample, and we're going to do both those tests. The second one, we'll print that. The third one, we might want to do 2 tags, one for the grading and then one for the Adderberg. And we print tags. You end up with something like this, so you can cut those out and put them with the samples. So now we're ready to enter the test results. So we go into sample A and the grading worksheet. We say who did the testing and start entering the values. You'll notice that the passing limits are already in here. They were defaulted in by the specification that you selected when we created the samples. So we'll just go on down here and enter these. Alrighty, so we've entered all the masses. You can enter the observations, select the equipment, and click Save. So that now goes off and calculates all the values. So you've got the passing percentages and the retained percentages, and you've got your ratios down here, etc. So some worksheets will calculate those fields as you go, and others which are more complicated, like the grading worksheet, it calculates them when you click the Save button. You've also got your graph down the bottom here, and as you can see, that sample was within the limits. So that's it for the person who was testing. Because we're using direct data entry, somebody else needs to come in and check the worksheet. So they would come in and click this button. That worksheet is now disabled. It can be reopened if you've got the correct privileges, but essentially it's disabled, ready to go, ready to be reported. So then we go to the second worksheet on that same sample, which is the Atterberg. And again, select who did the testing and the date they tested it. I'm not going to enter all the results for this one, just for speed purposes. So then you check the worksheet. Alright, that sample's ready to be reported. We go to the work request, we click Approve button. You'll see these two samples are with the worksheets in red writing. They're not ready to be sampled as yet. Reported as yet. And so on this screen you can move things around. So if you wanted to report sample B before A, for example, you would do that, but we'll do that. We'll report sample A first. Each sample prints on a single page all of the results. So if we wanted to put Atterberg first, we could change the order of those, but we'll stick with that. You can choose whether to display the graph or not. We'll display it in this case, and we'll click the preview button. And there we go, we've got our grading and our Atterberg and the gradings graph. So once you're happy with that, you can click the Approve button. And let's view what that. And so now we've still got all that information about the grading and the Atterberg, but we've also got the accreditation information and your signature, etc. Obviously, only certain people have that privilege within the system to be able to actually approve a result. So before we complete that, we will preview the invoice. We'll take a look, and you'll see we've got our establishment fee and our travel and the two worksheets. The rate has been entered in a different part of the system, and I won't go into that right now for time purposes. But essentially, you can enter the rates for all the different things, and at the project, client, and at the generic level for the laboratory. And it'll pick the invoicing, picks them up, puts them in here, and totals up the value. We can now complete that work request as we've done everything we want to do on it. And at the end of the month, you would come through the invoicing section. We'll find the work request that we're just working on, and that's the one. And for that project, we'll find all the outstanding work requests that have not been invoiced as yet for that project. So you can see we've got 21 of them, and you can select them individually if you wanted to create an invoice for just some of them. But if you want to do all of them, you can click the Select All, Create Invoice, and when that comes up, you'll see that you've got a whole heap of work requests in here and the values for each of them. So the last step would be to then mark those as billed, and that would mean that next month they won't come up on this list. Thank you for watching this presentation. If you want more information about GeoTester, go to our website, which is www.geotester.com. Thank you.